Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be taking a look at,
Oh, this is a good one.
it is a good one.
Yeah.
This is
Buckle up, everybody.
God Day is the author of life and finisher of our faith.
Ooh, that's a title.
I know, right?
It is.
And this one we're going to be looking at especially how it talks about life choices and relationships and kind of, all the advice that we get and how we filter that.
Yeah, it's interesting because right off the bat, this document really comes from a specific point of view. Like it lays out this worldview,
Right.
which starts with this idea of God, like with a capital G-O-D.
Yeah.
As the ultimate author, right, of our lives and our faith.
Yeah.
Which, that's different, right,
Yeah.
than a lot of ways of looking at things.
Huge. Yeah, it's a huge implication right there.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming at it from that perspective, then even how you go about making decisions every day is going to be different, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because instead of just going with your gut or whatever,
Yeah.
you're looking for this guidance, right?
Yeah.
From something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
So it's not just, okay, what do I want for lunch?
Right, exactly.
It's like, what is the plan for me?
Yeah, there's this
What does God want me to eat?
Yeah, there's this surrender, right?
Right.
This trust that there's, that things are unfolding in a way that, we're not totally in control of, but that's okay.
Right, we're part of a bigger story.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, one of the things that I found really interesting is they talk a lot about dead religion.
Ooh, yeah.
So this is where it gets, I think, this is where the rubber meets the road. Because it's easy to talk about this, kind of.
Theoretical, yeah.
Yeah, the theoretical.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, God a D's in charge, but what does that look like?
Right. But then this idea of what they were calling dead religions, it almost felt like...
It felt very strong.
It felt like a warning.
Yes.
Like, be careful.
Watch out.
Yeah, watch out, because you could be following something.
Yeah.
That you think is the right thing, but actually... It's not leading you
to life. Yeah.
To life. It's not. Yeah. It's not giving you that vitality.
All right.
That connection to, to truth.
Right.
That we're all, I think, searching for. So.
Yeah. And so for someone listening to this, right?
Yeah.
What would be a way to think about that?
That's a good question.
How would you figure out?
Yeah.
Okay, is this thing that I'm following, is this a dead religion? Or is this something that's actually giving me life?
I don't think they give us a checklist or anything,
yeah.
but they do talk about,
right.
Being connected to the core principles of,
right.
of faith and, whatever those may be for you. And
so it's is it...
and kind of looking at, is it vital?
Yeah, is it vital? Is it something that's adding to my life?
Right.
Is it making me, is it helping me grow?
Right.
Is it helping me become a better person?
Right.
Or is it something that feels kind of stagnant?
Okay, so it's not about the name or the label.
Right.
It's about how is it affecting you?
It's about, what's the fruit of it?
Okay.
Yeah, and if it's not bearing good fruit, then
that's a red flag.
Maybe we need to re-examine it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And then it gets into this thing about, it's talking about the importance of good advice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it even contrasts these different philosophies we hear all the time.
Yeah.
The classic, nothing lasts forever versus, life is short.
Yeah.
Those are
biggies.
They're huge, but they're so common.
They are.
Right. We hear them all the time.
All the time, yeah.
But when you actually think about it, those are two completely different ways of
looking at things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one, nothing lasts forever can kind of lead to this,
Detachment?
Detachment, yeah.
Right, so why bother?
Yeah, why get too invested?
Why get too invested in anything?
Right.
The other one is...
Whereas life is short, could inspire you to.
Seize the day.
Seize the day, make the most of it,
Right, yeah.
Really prioritize those relationships and experiences that matter.
Yeah. So how do you think that plays out?
Oh, that's a good question.
In relationships, then?
Well, if you think about it, right? If someone really believes that nothing lasts forever, they might be less inclined to,
go all in.
Go all in, put their whole heart out there,
Right.
Because they're thinking, well, it's going to end anyway.
Yeah, what's the point?
Well, why, why risk the heartbreak?
Right.
Whereas, someone who's focused on, the fact that life is short, they
might be much more
really go for it.
intentional
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
cherishing those connections.
Absolutely. They might put more value on,
Yeah.
making memories, spending time with loved ones, really nurturing those bonds.
Because, it's precious.
Because you don't know how much time you have.
And this document really seems to lean towards that.
It does. It really emphasizes that.
Your loved ones.
Yeah. Building those strong connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this part that, it talks about giving your loved ones space, but also holding them close.
Okay.
Which I was like,
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Those are two different things.
How does that work?
Right.
But the more I thought about it, the more it's like,
wow.
Actually, that's really important.
It does, because I think, it's recognizing that even in the closest relationships, we all need our own space,
Yeah, you need to be able to breathe.
We need to be able to breathe. We need to be individuals,
Right.
But at the same time, it's important to...
You need that connection.
You need that connection. You need that physical touch.
Yeah.
Those hugs, those moments of closeness.
Yeah.
Really...
So it's both.
It is. It's finding that balance.
It's both. Yeah. So
not one or the other.
It's not either or.
Right.
It's both and.
It's a both.
And I think that's really...
It's nuanced.
It is. It's nuanced. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, kind of taking all of this together, it really seems like this document is saying, you need to be following
a living faith.
A living faith, right? Something that is actually giving you life.
That's giving you life. That's connecting you.
And looking to God.
To a higher power.
Yeah.
For guidance.
For guidance.
Right. Not just relying on our own limited understanding.
And surrounding yourself.
Yeah. With people who
will give you good advice. Right.
Yeah, because...
That's huge.
It's huge.
That's so important.
Because who we listen to, it shapes our lives.
It shapes our lives.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
And so I think, what this leaves us with is...
Well, and how do we know? Right. How do we know what's good advice? And
I guess what's not.
And that's the question.
For all of us. Is how
have your own experiences shaped the way that you...
The way you view...
advice
and make decisions. Or where does...
faith or your own personal belief system, fit into all of that? Because I think it's huge,
Yeah.
It's something that we all...
And it's something to think about.
It is. It's something to really reflect on.
Yeah, because you could be following something.
You could be.
That you think is life-giving, but it's not.
Or it could be the opposite.
Yeah.
So we got to be discerning.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, this has been another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Until next time.
See you then.
See you then. Well.